Welcome to Scrum Masters Elite_UK, a channel sharing the spirit of Scrum. Subscribe so you don't miss new content.
What impressed me most in the story of Marlie Packer is not only the numbers, such as over 100 international caps, major titles, or her status as a key figure in the England team, but also the way she has managed to keep her love for the sport intact after nearly 2 decades of dedication. In elite sport, maintaining performance is difficult, but maintaining passion is even harder. Some athletes reach the top quickly and fade just as fast. Packer, however, presents a different picture. The longer she plays, the more she matures, the more she understands the value of every match, and the more she cherishes every moment on the field. From her reflections, I clearly sense that these are not the scripted statements of a professional athlete. There is a strong sincerity in the way Packer talks about the emotional tension near the end of her career. That made me think deeply. People often assume that experienced players become numb to pressure. But in reality, it is different. The more one experiences, the more deeply one understands the value of what they have. As a result, every match is no longer just another appearance, but a precious opportunity that may not come again. I especially like her comment that she still plays with a smile on her face. It sounds simple, but it carries the purest spirit of sport. Modern professional sport is often tied to performance pressure, media scrutiny, competition for positions, and social media debates. In such an environment, for an athlete to still preserve genuine joy in playing is extremely valuable. It shows she is not competing for fame or records alone, but for a true love of rugby.
What I admire even more is Packer's team spirit. Despite being a highly experienced star, she does not show ego or put herself above the collective. Her way of speaking about Sadia Kabaya shows mutual respect and support between generations of players. In elite sport, competition for positions is extremely fierce. Some see teammates as direct rivals, but Packer takes a more positive approach, improving together to make the national team stronger. I think this is something worth learning, not only in sport, but also in life and work. Many people think competition simply means defeating others. But this story shows that competition can also be a driving force for mutual growth. When a team has individuals who are both talented and supportive, it becomes very powerful. That is likely one of the reasons the England women's team has maintained its top position in the world for so long. Another point that made me reflect is the evolution of women's rugby throughout Packer's career. She is part of a generation that experienced the professionalization of the sport. That is very special. Her generation likely went through a period when women's rugby received far less attention and fewer resources than it does today. But through the persistence of players like Packer, the sport has gradually gained wider recognition. I think today's audiences sometimes only see the stadium lights, professionally broadcast matches, and large fan bases, forgetting that behind all of that is the effort of many generations of female athletes who quietly fought for respect for their sport. Packer is not only playing for herself. In a way, she represents an entire generation that helped change how society views women's sport.
This becomes even more moving when reading about her personal journey with her fiancé Rosie Gallagher. The part about IVF makes the story feel even more intimate and emotional. Fans often see athletes as strong, resilient, and tireless individuals. But in reality, they also have personal struggles and emotional pressures that are not always visible. I appreciate Packer's openness in sharing this journey. It helps people understand that behind an elite athlete is still a human being with joys, worries, and family aspirations. At the same time, it creates greater empathy for women going through similar experiences. Sometimes, when a public figure shares personal experiences, it is not only about telling their own story, but also helping others feel less alone. One of the most beautiful things about Packer is the balance between professional ambition and personal life. She still has the desire to contribute to the national team, to maintain top performance, while also valuing family happiness. This shows that true success is not only measured by titles, but also by the ability to preserve what matters most in life. I increasingly sense the psychological depth of an athlete in the later stage of their career. There is a very real anxiety in Packer's words when she mentions that each time she steps onto the field could be the last. This is a feeling younger people may not fully understand. At the beginning of a journey, people often think they have plenty of time. But near the end, every opportunity becomes much more precious. This also reminds me of life in general. Not only athletes, but everyone eventually realizes that time cannot be reversed. Therefore, living fully in the present, appreciating every opportunity, and giving your best to what you love is extremely important. Packer reminds me that sometimes the greatest regret is not failure, but not fully living when we had the chance.
I also really like how she accepts every role in the team. Whether starting, coming off the bench, or even not playing, she still wants to contribute. This is the quality of a true leader. Many people are only happy when they are the center of attention, but a true leader understands that their value is not only in minutes played, but in the positive influence they bring to teammates. In modern sport, increasingly influenced by personal branding and social media, this mindset is even more valuable. Packer demonstrates a quiet kind of strength, no scandals to gain attention, no shocking statements for visibility, just professionalism, consistency, and long-term dedication. I think sports fans can learn a lot from this story. We often judge players based on short-term form. One good match can bring praise, while one mistake can lead to harsh criticism. But Packer's journey reminds us that the true value of an athlete lies in long-term consistency, resilience, and sustained commitment. For the sports community, this story also highlights the importance of long-term investment in women's sport. Without proper environments for development, it would be difficult for athletes like Packer to have such enduring careers. Her success is not only personal but also reflects the broader growth of women's rugby in England. I also find it interesting that the article mentions her potential involvement in a future British and Irish Lions squad. This is not just a technical discussion. It is also recognition of the value of experience in elite sport. In an era that often emphasizes youth and speed, veteran players like Packer remind us that experience, composure, and leadership remain essential. One point I strongly agree with is that experienced players bring unique stability to a team. In high-pressure moments, they help maintain calm. They understand game rhythm, manage emotions, and instill confidence in younger teammates. These qualities cannot be captured by statistics alone. Another thought-provoking aspect is how Packer has maintained such high performance over a long career. That requires extreme discipline. Outsiders only see the 80 minutes on the field, but behind it are thousands of hours of training. Recovery, personal sacrifice, and physical endurance. Staying at international level for many years is incredibly demanding. Because of this, I believe fans should show more respect to athletes. Not everyone can become a legend, and even fewer can maintain peak performance for so long. Instead of focusing only on wins and losses, we should appreciate the invisible effort behind each match. From Packer's story, I take a clear lesson for myself: perseverance matters as much as talent. Talent may bring early success, but only persistence ensures long-term survival. In any field, those who succeed sustainably are those who adapt, maintain motivation, and continuously improve. I also learn the value of gratitude for the present. Packer plays with appreciation for every opportunity because she understands nothing lasts forever. This is worth reflecting on in daily life. Often, people only realize the value of a moment after it has passed. But if we learn to live more fully in the present, life becomes much more meaningful.
I also believe Packer's image has a positive influence on young athletes, especially women. She shows that women can pursue elite sport, build a personal life, and still maintain their identity. This is an important message in a time when women's sport is growing but stereotypes still exist. In the end, what remains with me is not the number of caps or trophies, but the image of someone who always plays with joy, dedication, and genuine love for the sport. Perhaps that is why athletes like Marlie Packer are remembered long after their statistics are forgotten. Because ultimately, what moves people most is not only victory, but the spirit and character behind it.
Farewell from Scrum Masters Elite_UK, keep the flame of passion, the Scrum spirit, and stay resilient like Marlie Packer. See you again, thank you.